Welcome to the Back to Health podcast, where we share inspirational stories of hope to help you reclaim your health. If you're suffering from a chronic condition and have been given little to no hope, if you've been told that there's nothing wrong with you, but you know there definitely is something wrong, or if you're just trying to be preventative and want to know how to reclaim your health, then this podcast is for you. I can't wait to share today's episode. Hello and welcome to the Back to Health podcast. My guest today, after running his own printing company and being a part of the printing and marketing world for over 25 years, Scott found himself on a different path when his wife's health started to decline. After finding no answers from Western medicine, they started to do their own research and became their own advocates. And today they spend their time educating and advocating for others and helping them naturally any way they can to prevent many ailments from even starting, as they have learned that prevention is the key. I think this is a very powerful topic, and as many of you will know, it's one that's very close to my heart. So I am honoured to welcome Scott Manduck to the podcast today. So hi, Scott. Thank you so much for making the time. And your story is just so fascinating that I don't want to talk too much and I don't want to give too much of a build up as to what it is. I would like you to share, and I just want to give you the floor because I think when everyone hears a story, they'll understand why this is so close to my heart and why this is so much about what this podcast is all about. So I'll let you take the floor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. Sounds like we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, it's been definitely a journey. My background is not really anything to do with healthcare, and that's kind of the best part of this journey and how we started. I've been an entrepreneur. I've run my own business for close to 18 years now. My background is printing, direct mail, just
That's far away from
anything to
healthcare.
do with marketing, literally. And I've worked with some of the largest companies in the world, like Google, Bombardier, Disney, Microsoft, Adidas, Nike, MasterCard, Visa, you name all those big brands. I've worked with them for the last 25 years. And it's been an interesting journey in learning how the marketing thing works and how they pinpoint things and how they actually sell. It's very interesting. And this is going to come into play very largely in our journey because everything we see, everything we do, it's planned. It's marketing. It's a way for you to go, oh, I should do this,
Yes.
and oh, I should do this. And the more I go down that rabbit hole, it's kind of like, holy crap, no way. And has to do with your food. This has to do with your prescriptions. This has to do with what exercises you do or you do not
Yes.
do. This has to do with the glasses you wear or you do not wear, what type of shampoo you wear or use. It's everything. And it's really interesting. And I sit in many meetings with like Google and stuff like this and watch them strategize. It's unbelievable on how much thought goes into it. And coming down this path of natural wellness, it was a tough journey. My wife has been in the Western medicine world for 27 years, 28 years.
Wow.
My mom worked at a hospital her entire life. So we are very, very, very Western medicine background,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
And about 12 years ago, my wife started to develop some symptoms that were just like a sore shoulder, which we call it an ultrasound shoulder, sore neck, a little bit of headaches,
Mhm.
just weird things like that, sore feet, sore joints. And then it started to progress. And with this started to come, obviously, fatigue, migraines, um, brain
Yeah.
fog, loss of
I can relate
memory,
to all of
muscle
this.
degeneration, muscle degeneration. Um, and then from there, it came to the point where she could barely walk up a flight of stairs, like literally. And we have about, I don't know, 14 stairs. And it would take her about, I don't know, 7, 8 minutes. It doesn't sound like a long time. You count to 7, 8 minutes going up 10
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah.
That's a problem, right? And then when we started going through all these things, we obviously started going through all the practitioners, right? We go to our family doctor. We then get our blood work, we get our x-rays, we get our MRIs, and then we start going to the neurologist. Is a neurology thing? And we keep on going in this vicious circle. And it's like, okay, try this. Oh, try this. Try this drug. Try this drug. Try this drug. And the good thing is out of that is they are trying to help with the knowledge that they have within their field,
Yes,
right? So, but I want to make sure I mention that again because it's very, very important for people to understand is every practitioner has their field and it's very, very narrow.
exactly.
And we do not have an integrated medicine society. And that's a big problem because none of the practitioners really do well at communicating with each other and working together. They don't like that. They don't play well in the sandbox. And that's a big problem for the patients because of the guinea pig testing, literally, and trying to figure out what's going on. They can't, it's hard for them to get to the root cause of what's happening. And when that's happening, unfortunately, you become the subject of try this medication, try this medication, try this medication. So going to Lyrica, nerve blocker, going to all the pain meds and the antidepressants, and they just build up. And if you, knowing what I know now, if you picture a cup of water and this cup of water gets filled up, and when this cup of water gets filled up, these are all the ailments in your body and your body can deal with a lot of ailments at one time. It's beyond amazing. But when it gets to the point of overflowing, that's where the real symptoms start showing up. And it's a combination of all the ailments that are building in this cup that come over. And you're like, what the heck is this? Where did that come from? But it's a buildup over
And this
years.
is so important to understand because I feel like people see a symptom and they're like, oh, it just started last week, or I've just had this for a month. And it's like, no, this has been building up over years and years and years. And now your body's at a point where, like a cup of water or like a bathtub, where it's like overspilling and it can take no more. And when people say, well, I've been eating these foods for years and years and years, and I've only started reacting to them like last year, think about think about how amazing your body is that for 30 years it was putting up with the toxic things that were going into your body and it kept trying to fight against them. It kept trying to cleanse. And it finally got to a point, only 30 or 40 years into your journey, of saying, hey, enough's enough. Like, I am tired and I cannot do this anymore. And I can't cleanse this out of your system anymore because it has been abused so much. So people really do need to understand that this is not like a you woke up one morning, you had some symptoms and you just got ill. This has been
Yeah.
building over years and years and years, and your body's at a point where it can take no more. And so that's why you need to take a step back and start detoxing. But I'll let you carry on.
That's exactly it. And what people don't realize is they don't show this, they don't teach this, they don't preach
No,
this. So if you look at everything that we watch, you look at commercials, you look at TV, you look at media, you look at what you find on Facebook, on all social media, I don't care what it is, none of this is here to help get you healthy properly,
optimal.
right? Optimal health, exactly. And it's not just one magical pill that you're going to take and go, yes, I feel great. It's not going to happen, people, right? And this is the story that we get told and told and told and told. Oh, you take these three magic pills together and you'll feel great. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a combination of many things that you personally need to do.
Yes.
People can't do this for you. You need to figure out how to do it for yourself. And that's where it came to when I was going through all these practitioners, and the straw broke very on one fine day. It was like we're done, and we're sitting in the neurologist's office, and this was literally about 2 weeks after my wife was having hard times going up the stairs, and it was just so hard. And she comes out and just like, we're on our own. Like the neurologist said, at the state that you're in right now, this has to be something to do that's in your head, and you need to go see a psychiatrist. Think about that. This is a practitioner, a doctor that we believe in, that we trust to help us with something that's going on, because we know it's something physical in her body that is weird that's going on for her, not unable to walk up a flight of stairs. This is not a mental thing. And that was the state where I was like, okay, we're on our own. We're going to do this. And that's where manifestation really starts to kick in, and where the power of thought really does come into
Yeah.
handy. And when you start thinking, it's like, okay, I can't go to that doctor, I can't go to that doctor, I'm going to start trying some other things. This is the best thing for you, is be curious. And I want to say that word again, because when it comes to healthcare and it comes to yourself, you need to be curious and you need to ask questions.
Yes.
And you need to be not to be scared to ask questions to a doctor because they are not God. They are not the holy
No
grail
matter
and they are not the full
Yeah,
power.
no matter what they would like us to believe, that they are not. And it's really important, going back to your point about they have the knowledge in their limited, they know what they
Yeah,
know, and that's all they know, just like you know what you know. So anyone can go out there and educate themselves, and anyone can go and build that knowledge, right? You don't have to have a white coat to know this information. It's out there and you can find it, and you can educate yourself. And sometimes we're made to believe like, well, they've done all the training and they're the professionals, so they must know. But if you ask any doctor, how much time did they spend studying nutrition while they were training to be a doctor, you will be astounded by the answer. How many times has your doctor asked you, what do you eat? What is your diet like? It's always like, oh, you've got the symptom? Right, here's the magic pill that's going to fix that. Not let's go back and look at what's causing that symptom. Not let's look at what you're putting into your body that's actually making this happen. So you really need to understand from that point of view, are they trained in the things that they need to know to give you a holistic answer to your question?
that's right. That's the thing though. They're not holistic. They're very medication driven because that's what they've been taught. Because that is the way that it's always been
Yeah,
taught. So for them to go, oh, here's some essential oils, oh, here is some herbs, here is some this, that's not going to happen ever, right? It's starting to come in other streams where there's integrated medicine coming out where they'll think about nutrition, movement, breath work, and
yes.
stuff like that before they start going to medications. Medications is kind of like
The last resort.
the fourth or fifth or sixth resort, right? And don't get me wrong, we need Western medicine,
Yeah,
absolutely, 1,000%, but it shouldn't be our first
yeah,
go-to. It should not be our first go-to. We need to start thinking outside of this bubble that they've created for themselves, right? And it's literally big pharma, big tech working together to keep on pushing these things. And the famous line always comes out is they don't make money on healthy people.
exactly.
Think about that. They do not make money on healthy people. So why do you think this keeps on happening?
Mm.
Right? North America, we make the most amount of medications in the world. We also import the most medications in the world, but we're also the largest consumer of medications in the world.
And one of the
That's a friggin'
and
problem.
one of the unhealthiest populations, because most vulnerable to COVID with all those high COVID rates. Like, it shows the health of countries, and sort of like, the countries where the healthcare is good, where they have an integrated approach, you can see how they fared. So a pandemic is
Mhm.
such a good sort of stop, stand, take a picture, and understand what the health, what health looks like where you live. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just mind blowing. So, anyways, when we came across that last meeting, it was kind of like, okay, it's done. Literally that week, my wife was going through the library and she was just going through the kind of like the used books and she was just wasting some time and just like, okay, I just need to get out and just get some of my head cleared. She came across a book and it was in the used book section, so it was the best $2 she ever spent, as she calls it. And it was by Dr. Amy Myers, and the book is called The Autoimmune Solutions. And when you first look at that book, you're kind of like, I don't have an autoimmune disease. It wasn't about that. It was about inflammation in our body. And for us to understand inflammation in our body, 80% of ailments approximately in North America have to do with inflammation. Now, what's inflammation? A lot of things can cause inflammation in our body. And this is the foods we eat, of course, yes, right? Food is medicine. Yes, it is. And I'm going to say it again, food is medicine. We need to think of it that
Yeah.
way. What you put into your body is the fuel for your Lamborghini. Your body is a
Yeah.
Lamborghini. You put McDonald's or Burger King every day in your body, that Lamborghini is not going to work, people. Think about it, right? So we need to be conscious and mindful of what we're eating.
Yes.
And when we start going down that road, and even the water, the type of water we're drinking,
Yes.
right? If you buy all the different bottles of water, two things. One is it's sitting in plastic. That's one. Two is the type of water in it. It's not all pure, people. There's tons of garbage in it. You need to check this stuff out. When your body's in fight or flight mode and you are in chronic pain, you need to ask questions about everything that you put in your body.
Yes.
What are you breathing? What are you putting on your skin? Those are the three major items that you need to think about every single day because that is what's going to get you healthy,
Yes.
period.
Yes.
Right? It's so simple, but you need to break it down to simplicity for people to go, oh, I can do that. And it took us, like, I was ignorant to this whole concept, literally, if it wasn't for 12 years ago. I would have just kept on doing about my business and away we go and stay with my wife and stay with my kids. And it's just one of those things that we had to wake up. And with this book, we started to figure out that inflammation foods like tomatoes, legumes, almonds, all these things, dairy, gluten, obviously alcohol, caffeine, all these things, it's okay to have here and there as a normal person that's not dealing with much. But if you're in chronic pain, chronic illness, and just dealing with a bunch of crap, once again, if you start cutting these things back for 3 months, what we find is everything happens in a routine. You need to create a routine. Routines start in 3 month periods,
Yes.
right? This is everything in life. Everything happens in 3 months. It's a cycle. And once you start mastering that cycle, where you start cleaning your body out and you start getting rid of all the chemicals and the toxins in your body will start to react in a positive way and your body will naturally detox. And your biggest detox organ is your liver. When your liver stops working, what happens? It gets overflowed. What's your next biggest toxic membrane? It's your skin. You're going to start seeing all these rashes and all these weird things come out of your body. You're like, oh my God, I'm really sick. It's your body detoxing all the crap you've been doing for 20, 30, 40, 50 years,
Exactly.
literally, right? So it's a beautiful thing when you actually pay attention to it and why it's actually working. And once we started doing that with my wife, one of her biggest symptoms that was fairly painful is the nerve pain. So when you, just to give you a kind of a picture of what this feels like, so when you sleep on your arm and it's asleep
Yeah.
and then it comes out and there's like a
Ti-
5 to 10 second period that is like super
yeah.
painful. That was her entire body for 6 years from head to toe, right? So imagine living with that non-stop. The solution to that, it wasn't Lyrica, it wasn't all the pain meds, it wasn't the antidepressants, it was food, it was diet, right? It was inflammation in her body. Once we started reducing the inflammation in her body, which did not take long, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. What's that magic number?
3.
Three.
Yeah.
3 weeks, right? Her body started to react in a positive way. She's not a big lady. She's 5'7". She was 120 pounds, right? So it's not like she needed to lose weight.
Mm,
It wasn't about weight. But if you are trying to lose weight, what's the first thing that you're going to lose? Inflammation and
yeah.
water, right? So if you start thinking about this, if you are overweight and you are dealing with things, think about inflammation foods. Start reducing this. You'll start to feel better because gut health and brain health need to work together and you will lose weight,
And there's one thing I
right?
want to touch on that you mentioned there very briefly was about the fact that some people will say, but I eat quite healthily. Like I eat salads and I eat all this stuff. I eat quite well. And I thought that for a very long time because I suffered from fatigue and brain fog and all those kind of, all those kind of things. And I was like, but I eat quite clean. Like eat really well. And this is the important thing to understand. It's not just fast food, junk food. Obviously, you've got to remove all those processed foods. Like we're not even talking processed foods here, but sometimes there are foods that we think of as normal, healthy foods that can also cause inflammation. So we need to understand that if you have already built up a toxic load in your body and then you're putting something like a tomato, for example, into your body, although tomatoes are like generally we can call them healthy as long as they don't have pesticides and they're organic, what will happen is even where that tomato could normally, like in a normal person's body would be fine, it can still cause a reaction and cause inflammation in your body because you have a toxic load that is causing an aggravation to having that particular food. So it's about understanding your body and understanding the foods you're putting into your body, regardless of whether or not you eat processed food. So it's not just about processed foods. And I just wanted to sort of make that clear because lots of people say, I don't eat
Absolutely.
that stuff, but you can still be dealing with inflammation because you may have toxic chemicals you're using in the house and that's putting a toxic load on your body. There could be other things in your environment. You may be like living near somewhere where it's quite the air quality is not very good, and drinking water out of plastic bottles where it's saturated with the plastic and you're putting it into your body. So then the food starts aggravating your body, even though you're eating quite healthily.
Absolutely. And just to continue on that, because you've hit some big nuggets there, is this is just hilarious because it's just opening such a can of worms.
Go for
We
it.
were talking to a lot of nutritionists and going through all this because we started finding that diet was starting to help us. And even nutritionists, once again, they're very funneled into what they've been trained and dealing with things like oxalates,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oxalates are the hidden gem in healthy foods that people don't realize. And I'm going to bring this up because a lot of people are dealing with inflammation and inflammation like symptoms. And Oxalates are one of those things where the nutritionist was telling my wife, okay, you got to go vegan, oh, you got to go vegetarian, and you got to do these things. And what I'm going to tell you is, may shock you, is no, that is not in a lot of cases the way to go. Is you need to listen to your body.
Yes.
Your body. That nutritionist does not know your body. They're doing their job to try to figure out your body. But while they're doing that, they're going to do what they read out of a book and keep on going down that funnel. And your job is to have a health binder to go, this is what I ate today for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is how I was feeling after breakfast, lunch, and
Yep.
dinner. Oh, I ate a green smoothie at brunch time. After I felt lethargic, I felt sore, I felt tired. I was just like, just so drained. Why is that? It's healthy food. You should be getting energized. No, because what's happening is all the oxalates in your food and your body can't process those oxalates, right? Which is the kale, legumes, almonds, things like this. Look it up. There's a great Facebook group called Try Low Oxalates. Get in there, try it, look around. If you're dealing with these things, these weird symptoms that no one can figure out, these are the steps that you need to take. Reduce your information, take a look at the low oxalate group because it may be a thing, it may not be, right? I can eat oxalates, no problem. I have no problems processing it. My wife can't have it. It was literally almost killing her,
Yeah.
right? So you having all these green smoothies, yes, 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 it may not be doing wonders for
And
you. So just pay attention to these
And this
things.
is so true because when I was having the fatigue, I was like, maybe it's low iron. Maybe I need to up my iron. And so I was having these green smoothies and I had spinach and I had kale and they made me feel awful. They made me feel so, so bad. And I'm like, but this is a healthy smoothie. Like this should be giving me my energy. And I should be feeling like, I'm feeling even more fatigued than I was when I woke up in the morning. And so I was like, you know what? It's this. I need to take out that spinach. I need to take out that kale, and I need to, I'm going to have avocado and lettuce instead. And that combination worked much better for me because then that was giving me what my body
Mhm.
needed. So it's so important that no one solution can work for everybody. We are individuals. We have different ways of coping with the things around us, with our environment. We have different sensitivities to things in our environment, and our bodies
Huge.
process things differently to the next person. So you may all live in the same house, but you will have different sensitivities to different things. Like my son will come into one particular room and he will sniffle in that room because he has a sensitivity to something. And I'm still trying to figure. I'm using oils and I'm trying to figure out like how we can sort that out for him. But me, my daughter, my husband, we have no issues. Like we don't react in that way. So everyone has different sensitivities and we have to understand our own bodies and what works. And the only person that can get to that answer is you. You can have the guidance of any holistic practitioner, you can have the guidance of any doctor, you can have the guidance of any book, but you are the only person that can actually give yourself the answer as to, right, is
Absolutely.
this working for me, is this not? And then keep ticking off, like you say, get a binder and start ticking off all the things you're trying and figure out what works for your body, and then just build on the things that when you find a nugget, stick to that, build on it, and go deeper, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thing that you're mentioning too, that was another big step for us in our health journey was reducing the toxins and chemicals. And this is a big thing. So I'm gonna ask a question to you,
Yeah.
and it's a trick question. So I'm giving you a little bit of a hiccup on it. Is what is the most polluted place in the world?
Oh, this is a trick question. I feel like I should say London City, but
Touche, touche.
oh, uh, your house.
Let me give you a
Yeah,
hint. Bingo, nailed it. Your house. Why is that? Think about all the chemicals that are in our house. So, now to all your listeners, this is a test that I do on every podcast, every radio show that I do, every single one of them. And the feedback is ridiculous. Is sometime this week, I'm going to give you a week, is go through every single room in your house. And I want you to bring every single cleaning solution that you have into one table. Everything. That's what you clean the floors with, clean the walls, the windows, the fridge, the stove, shampoo, conditioner, makeup,
yep,
you name it. Beard cream, toothpaste, mouthwash, candles, you name it. Put every single thing on the table. And then I want you to turn them all around so you see the backs of the labels, right? This is so crucial to what we're talking about, people, and when we talk about reducing toxic load.
yep,
And the front of the labels is what I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast when it comes to marketing. They do such an amazing job at capturing your attention because it says pure, natural, fresh, organic. I call bull crap on 99% of the stuff that you're buying, right? It's just horrendous. And once you start looking at the back of the label, when you see the word fragrance, you run the other way. Fragrance is 100% chemical,
And
people,
even worse when it
right? This
says,
is the sort of stuff that kills us.
sorry, I was going to say even worse when it says natural fragrance. Natural. It's like there's nothing natural about this stuff.
Absolutely not. So there's a great, so we started going through this. We started detoxing our home literally, and we do classes on this and oil camps for this too. Is we call it detox your home because it's just insane. And but if you watch, there's a great documentary on Netflix. It's called Stink, and this documentary really opens for most people's eyes because a lot of people don't understand about chemicals and toxic load in our body and what it can actually do to harm us. And people don't realize what you breathe in ends up in your body. People have a hard time with that. It's like, what are you talking about? I just breathe. It's like, no, no, no. What you breathe goes into your body and it gets into your cells.
Yes.
Like that's a hard thing for people to grasp. What I put on my skin, they think people think their skin is like metal where nothing gets absorbed into their cells. It's like, no, what you put on your skin matters, right? So the creams that you're putting onto your
Yeah.
body, they end up in your cells. And remember that cup that I was talking about where it's going to overflow? This is what I'm talking about. All these things that you breathe in, that you put on your body, start fill this cup up. And in time, not when you're 5 years old or 6 years old, in time, with all these things that are going on, that cup is going to explode. And when it does, it's not fun. It's not. And it usually happens 30 to 50,
Yeah.
depends on how hard you are on your body, right? But now we're seeing it's happening even more in kids. Because if you think about it, think about all the chemicals that we use in our house. Oh, I gotta wipe this down. Oh, the germs here. Oh, the germs here, right? What do your babies do, right? They're on their hands and knees. What do they do next, right? Hands right into their mouth. So now they're getting it on their skin and right internally, and it's a buildup at such a young age, right? So this is why we have so many sick kids literally
Yeah.
around the world, and we gotta stop. We have to start paying attention to these things. It's just heart
And I
wrenching.
just want to raise awareness that you've got to remember that a lot of these chemicals are the really toxic ones and they're in our cleaners. You know, if you have a look, like Scott says, you will be surprised by what you read on the back of these labels. They do pass the blood brain barrier. But not only that, when your mother is pregnant, they also pass through the placenta to the unborn child. So there was a study that was done where they had
Huge.
different children across different states. It was a US study. So across different states in the US, and they tested the cord blood in the placenta as soon as the children were born. And they found, like we're saying, you know, a child's born and children are very healthy, very versatile, they've got good vital force. But these children are born with their cups already like half to three quarters full of toxic load, because whatever the mum's consuming, whatever the mum's breathing, whatever the mum's putting on her skin, the skin stuff is so important. That is
Mhm.
all going into the baby. That's going to the fetus, to the baby, and then when the baby's born, they're already born with a like literally toxic load. So that cup is not at the bottom like when we were born. It's literally already half to three quarters full. So it takes very little things to trigger them. This is why children have food
Mhm.
sensitivity so early. Why children have cancer so young. This is why it's so difficult for children to detox themselves like they should be able to, because their bodies are already overloaded even before they are born. And that's a really sad thing. But then the second thing that I read was also, and don't quote me on the exact number, but something like the average woman that uses products and wears makeup and all that kind of stuff uses about puts about 129 toxins on their body before they've even left the house. So like in
Yep.
your morning routine, when you're just getting ready, the shampoo that you use, the soap that you use, the makeup that you use, the creams that you use, like everything that you're applying, before you've even left the house, you're exposed to about 129 different toxins. And then you're going out into the world where, depending on where you live, if you live in a busy city, there's pollution all around you, and you're taking all of that in. And then you're eating this food, a lot of it with pesticides if you're not eating organic, a lot of it that's been corn fed, injected with antibiotics. And just imagine what your body is going through on a daily basis with all these things you're putting into your body, until you stop and just think, I need to clean. I need to cleanse. I need to allow my body to do what it's good at doing, but it can't do it
Yep.
until you allow it an opportunity to actually cleanse itself.
Oh, there's so many gems there. Like people, you need to pay attention to this podcast. Oh my grace, I love it. It's unbelievable, and I think the more that we talk about it, the more that we get this out there,
Yeah.
I think people are starting to wake up, and I'm seeing it more and more. We have an international team with a lot of stuff to do with natural wellness, and people are paying attention. It just brings chills to my skin because they were like me 12 years ago, and they were like you when you first started with all this stuff. It's like I was really doing that,
Yeah.
and I almost feel like, man, I'm an idiot. It's like, what was I thinking, right? It was almost like that aha moment. It's like, holy crap, yeah, okay, now I get
Yeah.
it. And it's awesome to see. Another big part of our journey that we want to talk about briefly, which not a lot of people talk about, is our teeth. So it's mind blowing. I've had 4 root canals. I played a lot of sports when I was younger, and I got a lot of big hits playing basketball and stuff like that. And I didn't really realize on how important your teeth were until my wife went through her journey and a little bit of, she had some discomfort with 2 of her teeth, which was just kind of weird. So she went in, she had 2 root canals done. It was the upper 2 left. And once we started going through these different modalities and we started coming into the Chinese doctors and the Chinese herbs and stuff like that, they're like, you need to go get those 2 teeth checked out because they kept on going to her liver, saying
Mm,
that it's not detoxing properly. So we always had these issues with her. So lo and behold, we come across a documentary called The Root Cause.
yeah.
And this root cause documentary is just, it's life changing. There's so many, and people think it's more of a conspiracy theory until they actually start digging into it. And in the documentary, what you'll find is there's one particular statistic for the women that are listening, and pay attention because there's a lot of truth to it. Because I've actually done some research on it. Is women that have breast cancer, over 70% of women that have breast cancer have a root canal on the same side.
Wow.
Think about that number. Over 70% that people that have breast cancer have a root canal on the same side. What does that tell you? Right? So with my wife, it literally started the healing process for us because the 2 root canals that she had done were the exact correlation because teeth are the breakers to your body,
Yes.
literally.
Yes.
And with that, those two teeth are a direct correlation to her liver in detoxing. And those 2 teeth were the 2 teeth that had the root canals. Those 2 teeth, when they do a root canal, they leave a small gap at the end of the screw that's in your jaw.
Yeah.
That is a breeding ground for bacteria because it's always moist, it's always warm, and there's always weird stuff going into your mouth of any kind of sorts, right? So, with that being said, she had a buildup of bacteria nonstop growing in there. And even though she was detoxing daily, her body couldn't detox fast enough for the bacteria that was
Yeah.
growing. So, anyways, we found this an amazing holistic dentist, which I didn't even know a holistic dentist even
I've
existed.
just found this out.
What the heck is a holistic
I've just
dentist?
found this out myself that's even a thing. Yeah.
That's like that's a thing, really? Come on. So I'm like Google. I'm like holistic dentist near me. It's like it was like what? Are you kidding me? So, anyways, we went through that and we found that after removing it, it was like the size of the bacteria was the size of the pinky nail that was embedded into her jaw,
Wow.
and we're like, what do we do with this thing? So we ended up sending it out to the States, and we ended up getting a biopsy done of this tooth and the bacteria, and she had 16 different types of bacteria growing in her jaw. And after that, her body literally started to detox fairly rapidly, and that was a big escalation. And at that point, that's when we were introduced into essential oils.
How did they deal with the
And
how did they treat the bacteria? Like what did they treat it with?
that's the funny part is they give you a little bit of ozone water just to rinse out, just the one shot, and that's it. Right?
Wow.
They'll say, well, you can go on some antibiotics. We're like,
No.
nope. Um, we'll go holistic, thanks, even though you're a holistic dentist. And it's like, okay, we're good here. And then we started using essential oils. And that's where kind of we went down the rabbit hole of essential oils. And not all essential oils are created equally. That is for darn sure.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, come on. They all say pure, they all say organic on them. And it's like, yeah. So I tested this and I went into, we have some natural health stores around us here in Canada. And give you an example, peppermint. Peppermint is used for what? Right? It's help with the digestion, helps cool your body down, helps with head tension, all these wonderful, beautiful things. but the ones that they sell in the health store are not made for internal ingestion,
Mm,
right? Essential oils can be taken internally safely.
yeah.
They can, as long as they're pure and the right proper oils. There's not many companies out there. 96% of essential oils in the world are adulterated. 96%. That's no joke. That's third party tested proof, science that's telling us this, right? So when you go into those stores, turn the bottle around and it'll say peppermint for aromatic use only.
Mm,
What does that mean? That is only for a diffuser, okay? That this is peppermint. We have peppermint tea, people. Peppermint is made for us to take internally. It's one of the biggest things for digestive health.
yep.
Like it's massive for it, right? On the back of the oil, it says aromatic only. So you ask the people, why can't I take this internally? Oh, it's just you're only supposed to breathe it in. This goes back to what you breathe in ends up in your body. Pay attention to these things, people. People don't clue that in. Well, I just want it to smell nice. Smell nice is not healthy nice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you need to pay attention to these
Yeah.
things. So we started going through this, and the essential oil journey for us was massive because it was able us to detox. It was huge for prevention. Like we've been using them now for probably 6 years. Our household, I have two kids, a 14-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old boy. Our household has not been sick.
That's
Not
amazing.
one cold, not one flu, not one symptom, nothing. Why is that? It's about prevention and what we do in our body, right? The use of essential oil, supplementation, enzymes are super important. Our body doesn't produce enzymes.
Yeah.
We need to help our body with that, with the crappy food that we're eating, even though that it's organic. It's not the healthiest as it was 30, 40 years
I
ago.
mean, this is a really important point. I just want to really just stop here and highlight this, even if it's organic, because I think people just read the label sometimes and you think, just to be clear, they sell organic donuts. That doesn't mean they're good for you, right? That is a thing. They do sell organic donuts and they are not healthy just because they're organic, and even organic sugar. But yes, it's better than refined sugar. It doesn't mean that you should be eating bucket loads of it just because it's organic.
Well, that's
So
awesome.
we
Organic
I
donuts.
know, I know. When I honestly saw it and was just like, what have we? Where are we? But but this is what we need to understand, that once people start associating a term, like a terminology, with something to mean healthy, like how people associate vegan with being healthy. But if you're eating vegan processed food, it's still processed, right? It's still not healthy for you. So this whole thing about using these terms, and this is the clever marketing that you're talking about, that these terms have been come to be synonymous to health, but they're not. And you need to understand that there's different like grades of organic, and even in that, the soil has been depleted. Our soil is depleted because of the
Absolutely.
pollution, because of what's happening in the world, because of global war, everything that we're dealing with. So no matter how organic something is, it's still not as good as it was when our parents were growing up, and even when we were younger, because if the soil doesn't have the minerals, things growing out of that soil do not have the minerals, and then the animals eating those things do not get the minerals that they need. So we are still depleted regardless of how well we can try and eat, and we do need to look at ways of how we then supplement. I'm not a big advocate for supplements. You should do as much as you can through your food, but we have to also understand that it's inevitable that at some point there are going to be things missing in our diet that we have to find healthy ways to replenish in our bodies.
Absolutely. And when you do take those supplements, and that's a huge gem, is the supplements that we take, they are filled with synthetics and fillers, people. Like, do not go to Costco and buy your supplements.
No.
Do not go there and buy your vitamin C or whatever it may be, because you're not getting what your body is actually required, and you're just putting more toxin load into your body. Just because you're getting a big bucket of 500 of these things for $12 doesn't mean it's good for you, right? Think about this. And the supplements that we take and the enzymes that we take, they are made from pure essential oils. Our body, remember this. This is so key. Remember, our body naturally wants natural things, right? That is huge. That was something that we kind of started kind of midway, and we really lived that journey. Our body naturally wants natural things. The more other things you put into it, it has to work twice as hard to detox it, right? So we need to really focus on that. Enzymes are super important. It helps digest the food and the things that we're putting into our body, and it helps absorb all the nutrients into our body, and then it helps push out all the waste through our intestines. It's super, super important, especially if you're dealing with chronic pain, chronic illness, and you're just dealing with crap. You need them without dealing with all that stuff. but you are dealing with that stuff, this is super important to help detox your body. It's such an important part of it. So definitely, you got to start with enzymes. You got to start with healthy food, reduce inflammation, essential oils, get rid of all the chemicals, the toxins, the candles, the Febreze, the
Oh,
little things you put in the air sockets. It's all toxic, toxic, toxic. Get a diffuser, get some natural essential oils, and I can literally help you walk through, detoxify your house. That's what we do now to help other people around the world. And a big part that we wanted to talk about as well is EMFs.
yes. This is really key for me because it's a new area that I've just been learning so much about, and I've started doing it in our house. But I'm really keen to hear what you have to say about this.
It is mind blowing on what I've learned in the past 2 years. I used to be in IT probably about 24 years ago. So, dealing with the server rooms, dealing with all the man made radiations, the EMFs, electromagnetic fields or frequencies, depends on who you're talking to. It's a real thing. And my wife, working at one of the biggest hospitals here in Ontario, in Toronto, for many, many years, and we didn't realize on how much EMF exposure to one has until you start measuring it.
Yes.
And EMFs have a huge toll at the cellular structure of our body. I did not know this until 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had a live blood test analysis. That is the coolest, most natural test you can do to see what's in your body. It is wild. And I want to explain it briefly for people to actually look up. Look at live blood test analysis near me. Look up in any browser, check it out. And they prick your finger, they put it into a slide, it goes into a dark field microscope that has an HD camera in it. It gets projected onto a big screen in front of you. So you physically get to see your own blood literally on screen.
Wow.
It is the coolest thing ever. Then the technician starts walking you through, oh, this is digestive protein. Oh, this here is if you're hydrated. If your cells, the white circle around them shows that you're hydrated. And your cells should be nicely circled and they should be moving along fairly nicely. And you'll start to see that your lack of B vitamins, your lack of iron. And you can see all these things literally right in front of you. She'll explain and she'll show all these things. You can see bacteria, you can see parasites, you can see crystallization. So if you have body aches, you can physically see it in your cells. Like it is beyond amazing on how you can actually get to this. The other part, which is what we're talking about now, is the EMFs. You can literally see your cells in EMF stress.
Wow.
It looks like a bottle cap, like edges. They're stacked up like worms, like literally on top of each other, and then they start to clump, right? This is EMF damage showing you on screen. You can't hide it. Your blood doesn't lie. This is what I love that line that the technician always says. Your blood doesn't lie. And if you can see it for yourself, videotape it and then go home and research on your own.
Mm.
Remember, I said be curious, ask questions. This is the part that I want you to really capitalize on because everything in that video that you're watching is literally the secret sauce to your health, right? Everything that she was saying, you're recording. You can go back now and just research the crap out of it. Go into Facebook, go into whatever browser you're using, and just go crazy and just look into these things.
Yeah.
No, the internet's not the doctor. But if you can start piecing together your puzzle, it's going to help you. So what we found with this EMF stress was it was like, holy crap. And EMFs can cause brain fog. It can cause headaches, migraines. It messes up your diet, your inflammation in your body,
Yep.
digestion, right? ADHD, Alzheimer's. You look at all these big ailments, a lot of this can be enhanced by EMF distortion in our body.
Mm-hmm.
It messes up our nervous system, right? So a good way to explain it is everyone, we know that our body is vibrational, right? Everything's a vibration, as Nikola Tesla says, right? Famous scientist in the world. Everything's a vibration, and it's true. If you think about it, our body is connected to Mother Earth. And a good video to watch, and it's a great documentary, it's called The Earthing Movie. It's on YouTube, right? It's a great documentary for people to understand what we're talking about when it comes to earthing. So when you travel out of the city and you go way up in the mountains or whatever, you don't have a phone signal, and you're there for at least 4 or 5 days, do you not feel better?
Yeah.
Do you not feel more energized? Do you get the brain fog gets released? You sleep better? Why is this? because you're adding the EMF distortion, right? Our body detoxes these things very quickly, but you need to stay out of it for a while.
Yeah.
So when I was going through this, I was like, wow, so these are frequencies that are distorting our nervous system. And I came across a company called Essential Vibes. This is where it kind of opened my eyes. And this company adds frequency into minerals. These minerals just happen to be jewelry type products. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I kind of pushed it aside because I've seen so much in the past 12 years, like, it just doesn't make sense. So it's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to test it. So I hired a live blood technician to come to my office. And I was like, I said, I'm so going to debunk you guys. So, anyways, so what we did is I got 16 of my friends, and I got my best friend's mom. She's 81. I got my mom. I got my wife. I had a whole bunch of friends come with different things. I know my best friend's son, he's 16 years old. School, he eats McDonald's like 6 times a week. I'm like, perfect, bring him on, right? And we know that a lot of these people are going to have issues. So what we did is we did a live blood test analysis first. We did a whole bunch of videos of the whole thing. And then we all gave them these bracelets that have the Schumann resonance in them.
Hmm.
The Schumann resonance is the natural Earth's frequency. I know the Schumann resonance does this, which is 7.83 hertz. Yes, I know this, but the constant
Hmm.
that they find, the average is 7.83 hertz, and that's the Schumann resonance. So they each got 2 bracelets. They came back 8 days later. We did the exact same thing. So their diet didn't change. They didn't do anything crazy in 8 days. And it's 8 days. Not much can change really, really in eight
Yeah.
days. So it's like, okay. So we did the live blood test analysis. Every single person had a huge shift in their blood.
Wow.
Yeah, one person had his name was Jim, and he had extreme anxiety, like extreme anxiety where they took his license away. And within 8 days, he had an 80% improvement of his anxiety attacks. 2 weeks later, he was driving.
That is just amazing. I am.
This is EMF distortion at its best, people, right? And you have tons of these EMF protectors and all this sort of stuff that's around. It's all hogwash. It's all bullcrap. It does not work to what it actually is. And what people are doing is they're putting them on, like you're getting these little phone
Yeah.
stickers, right? Right? Think about this for a second, logically. You have a sticker that is on your phone. You're protecting your phone, right? Yeah, so most people talk like this, right? If you look at the settings on your phone, this is the FDA settings. Everyone should be talking to their phone like this
Mm.
because in the FDA for approval, it's 12 to 15 millimeters away from your head you should be talking. This is not approved. This is approved,
Wow.
right? Why is that? On a 3-minute phone call for an average adult, because of the thickness of our skull, the radiation from your phone will go from your right ear to the inside right side of your eye in a 3-minute phone call, right? That's the average phone call in North America to what they're saying in the studies that they did at all the different universities. Now take that exact same phone call, and put it on an infant that is under the age of 17 and 8 and above. Are our kids' skulls the same thickness as ours?
No.
No. So what happens with that? The exact same phone call from the right ear comes to the outside left side of their eye. Now, why do so many kids now have ADD, ADHD, all these different syndromes, cancers? Like, why is this? Hello, we are poisoning our kids, right? Everything is Bluetooth these days, all the Bluetooth earpods. Look up in YouTube, look up into anything that you want. Look up Bluetooth radiation. Watch the videos.
Yeah.
It is
Yep.
mind blowing on what this is doing to society. And this is not conspiracy theory because it's 5G. No. Take 5G and put it aside for a second. Look at 4G, 3G, 2G, LTE. Just look at those alone. Then look at Wi-Fi in your house. Look at the electrical current in your house. Look at the monitors that we have. Look at the printers that we have, the laptops. These are all man-made electronics that building up. Your body does not vibrate at that frequency, right? This is why earthing is so important.
Yeah.
And once you start doing this and you start grounding yourself, literally, you'll find that your body's more more harmonized with the natural Earth's frequency.
So this may or
And that is what those products do.
and this may or may not be your advised way of earthing, but literally in lockdown I was getting so worried about the fact that we are spending more and more time indoors, and all of us are on our devices because my kids had to be on their devices for school and we were working, and we're not
Mhm.
getting out as much as we used to. And so I really was looking into, I need solutions, because my daughter was complaining of headaches, and I was getting I get migraines anyway, but
Bingo.
they were getting worse. And so I bought these grounding mats, and I was like, anytime you're using the devices, you need to be on the grounding mat to do that. And we also bought grounding sheets for bedtime, so that when they were sleeping, we were trying to detox and help their body sort of acclimatize. And I can say our sleep improved dramatically once we started doing that, because we all had such peace. Like, the kids were not waking me up at 3 a.m. anymore, tapping me to come sleep with them, because they were in such deep
Mhm.
slumber that they weren't waking up, and they had such good sleep. And the headaches for my daughter definitely disappeared. Mine were a lot better, although I was still getting some migraines. But I had an issue with migraines anyway. So apart from those types of things, what else are your recommendations in how we can do this properly? Like, what are the best ways to do this?
There's a few things. So what you're doing is definitely helping. The main thing you got to be careful with those is that they are grounding mats, right? So depending on what frequency those grounding mats, and depends if it's a good quality one or not, because I've seen a lot of not so good products out there because they're trying to get into this space.
Yeah,
So you got to be really careful
yeah,
with that. Two, especially sleeping. Remember, you're sleeping for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. What you do in that room is super important, because that is your detox, that is your re-energize, that is everything for your body to be natural, right? So with that is shut your Wi-Fi off at night. You don't need your Wi-Fi at night. It's pretty simple,
yeah,
right? That's a huge one. Don't have any devices in your
yeah.
bedrooms. Do not sleep with your phones, your iPads, all that sort of stuff that is connected to Wi-Fi. If your Wi-Fi is off, you don't need them in your room
Mm-hmm.
anyways, right? Don't have any Bluetooth devices in your bedroom, right? Even just your headphones and all this sort of stuff. Even your TV, if you have a TV in your bedroom, most TVs are smart
Yeah,
TVs. It's constantly looking out for signals, right? So unplug those, right? When you go to bed, you don't need those things on. That's a huge, huge thing. The more you can fight frequency with frequency, the better off you're going to be. That is the biggest takeaway. Essentialvibes.com is probably one of the best products out there because two reasons. One, it's always on you, right? What you have right now is a grounding mat. You're not going to walk around with a
no,
mat.
yeah,
It's just not going to happen, right? The stickers that you have on your phone, they're protecting your phone.
mm-hmm.
If I take your phone and I throw it 5 buildings over, are you still getting hit with EMFs?
Yes,
Absolutely. So we need to worry about what? We need to worry about the host, you, right? Everything else around us is hard to manage because it's not you.
mm-hmm.
So if we can find to manage you and help your cellular structure, that is key, right? That's why this company is so, it's just so amazing for what they're actually doing. And they're expanding into animals and all this sort of stuff because even our pets
Yeah,
are being hit with all these EMFs. So now they have pendants. So I actually have one, right? So this is just a little pendant
mm-hmm.
that these here are coming. I actually, yeah, they're amazing. It's just phenomenal. Um, but with the Earth's frequency, then they have other products they have one product, it's called the 5G Defender Pro, and it actually has the Earth's frequency, the Schumann
Mm-hmm.
resonance, it has solar frequency, and it also has colloidal silver frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. The colloidal silver, what's colloidal silver good for? Immunity. Hello.
Yeah,
It's the number one thing that we need to talk about, right? The other one is the actual solar frequency. With all of the satellites that our good friend Elon Musk is now putting into lower orbit, and the normal satellites, and now you add 5G, which is a millimeter wave, which is now it's called point to point or pillar to pillar, if you
yeah,
will. It is a 50 hertz millimeter wave that pierces the skin. Think about that. They use this as a military weapon in the States, and now it's going to be the backbone of our cellular network. This doesn't sound so good,
no,
right? So with that, we need to protect ourselves, right? So if you're going into the malls, you go into the doctor's office, you go on a plane, you need to fight frequencies with
yeah,
frequencies.
understood.
That is the best way to do it. So if you picture yourself as a tuning fork, and then you have another tuning fork, and this one here vibrates at 7.83 hertz, and it's close enough, what happens to this one? It starts resonating at the same frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to do with our body. Because once your body is connected to the Earth's frequency, you're grounded at the biggest possible level and it's hard to shift that, right? So that's why it's so important for EMF protection in the society that we're in right now because of what's happening. And EMFs activate a lot of weird things in our body
Mm.
because of the frequency. And there's so many conspiracy theories talking about, oh, it's a part of corona, it's this, it's this. It's like, listen, if it is, if it is, if it's not, it's not. At the end of the day, we still have a cellular network that is fastest than you can ever imagine, that's harmful to our body. If it's connected to coronavirus or not, who cares,
Yeah.
right? It's still a problem in the industry. Like how you connected, who cares? It's still
And
there.
also, once coronavirus is, whatever happens to it, it's still going to be there afterwards. So it's something we're going to have to address, regardless of if we're talking about it now or in
Exactly.
15 years' time. It's only going to get worse, given the way that things are going. So we need to understand
Yeah.
those things now. I think it's an area that I'm getting into. I've sort of been researching. It is a really confusing space, though. I find it's really hard to understand, like, what are the good quality products and which ones are the ones which are sort of like the copy, because even shungite I was looking at the other day, like, let's do shungite water and let's do all the grounding internally, but it's like there's elite shungite, there's black shungite, there's this one, and there's one this company makes, and it's like I literally spent about half an hour and I felt dizzy at the end of it because I was like, I don't know which one to buy and
Absolutely.
I don't know which one to trust.
Shungite is amazing. Shungite is actually a natural product, and it doesn't matter what shungite that you get. They're all decent. The only thing that it's missing is frequency.
Hmm.
If you add frequency into that, right? So if you gave a shungite bracelet to Essential Vibes,
Yeah.
they would add the frequency to it. That is a super product because now you have the basis of shungite
Yeah.
as well
The
as
frequencies.
all the other stuff from Mother Earth, right? Mother Earth is such a powerful thing. It creates all of our essential oils, it creates our foods, it has frequency, it has vibration. Think about that, people. Everything that we've talked about today is from Mother Nature, right?
Yeah.
Our body naturally wants natural things. That's why our body harmonizes with the Schumann resonance. That's why our body will resonate with good natural foods without all the chemicals and all the other stuff in it,
Yeah.
right? We always come back to that. And that's movement, breath work, all these things tie into your natural wellness circle. And it's super, super important that you need to get to that cycle.
I have loved this conversation so much today because there is just so much that I think we can all take from this. And it's one of those ones that you'll listen to a few times because there's just so many good nuggets. And I'm so looking forward to hearing the comments back from this particular episode. But if there was one final thought, and I have a guess of what you may say, but I want to give you, the chance to say it for
Yeah.
yourself. What would be the one main takeaway or main thought that you'd like to leave the audience with today?
There's not one. It's gonna be one. There's gonna be one longer one.
Go for it.
Not super long, but it's you need to be curious. You need to ask questions, right? If you do not do that, you're always going to be stuck in a hole, and you're always going to be going back and getting more medications. Your life will change. Literally, I'll put so much money on it if you actually go and you do the research, do the work, be curious, ask questions, don't take no as an answer, and just keep on driving forward with your natural wellness. Reduce your inflammation, reduce your toxins and chemicals, use essential oils, use them aromatically, topically, and internally. Use them wisely, get education. We have full education camps on all these things literally weekly. We have an international team with it. There's a reason why we're doing this, right? It is because it works, right? And it's actually so affordable. Once you start removing all the toxins, you can do all this stuff for less, right? So that is huge. EMF protection. You need EMF protection more now than ever
Yeah.
because 5G is only the beginning. What's happening with 6G, 7G, 8G? This is already all coming. It's already planned out. They're already putting the wires in the ground, people, right? This is coming. So get protected now. And once you start doing all those things, you'll find that the shift in your health and your wellness, everything will shift. Everything will shift.
I couldn't agree more. I think so well said. And all the links of where you can find Scott and the education and everything that he works with on will be under this episode. So please do be sure to check that out. And do get educated. Like this is the whole point of this podcast. It's about you need to be happy, you need to be healthy, but most importantly, you need to be informed. And when you're informed, you can make the best decisions for you because nobody knows you and your body like you do. That really would be my main takeaway from this today. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure to have have you on the podcast, and I really hope to have you back on again for another episode, because I think there's so much more wisdom you still have left to share with us.
Absolutely, I love it. This is great. I could talk to you all day about this stuff. This is phenomenal.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And for anyone else who's listening and you want to catch more episodes, you can catch the link below this episode for more episodes of the Back to Health podcast. But until then, I'll love you and leave you. Remember, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay informed. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you would like any of the links or the show notes, you can follow them in the description below. And for more episodes of the Back to Health podcast, please be sure to follow us on YouTube, or you can follow us on Spreaker, where we host our podcast. Thanks again, and I look forward to joining you for another episode of the Back to Health podcast. Until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay informed.